Welcome to Module 1, Orientation to Work Towards Entrepreneurship and Self-Employment. This is Session 2, concerning myths and facts of entrepreneurial activity. Starting a new business initiative, being entrepreneurial and having entrepreneurship spirit, it is something quite legitimate today. As we can verify, there has been much written about entrepreneurs. In addition, the histories we can see around us are also multiples. In part because of this, several myths about entrepreneurship, people who start business and entrepreneurial spirit have spread. Many of these myths, however, have not positively affect entrepreneurial activity, since in general they place entrepreneurship at a level to which only supernatural and extraordinary people have access. In recent years, however, this myth has been refused by several scholars of business creation. Based on obvious facts, it has been tried to demonstrate that the venture to be considered a risky and difficult task, it is also a valid option for many people who have initiative and who are willing to develop their entrepreneurial spirit. Now we are going to summarize the main myths along with the realities that conform, or the facts that conform them. Myth about the ability to entrepreneur. Myth 1. Money is the most important ingredient to create a company. Well, the key reasoning against this myth is that if there is a good business idea, if in addition there is a great opportunity, and if we are able to prove it, this is the key aspect, we will find people willing to invest in the business in exchange for gaining part of future earnings. The opposite process, however, is not always fulfilled. In other words, having financial resources often overestimate the entrepreneur's confidence, which could lead to failure. The fact is that if you have the other ingredients, is this idea, business opportunity, and entrepreneur people, money will come. The myth 2 is that to create a successful company, you have to be lucky enough to hit a great idea. In most cases, the creation and implementation of a new business project is the outcome of a deliberate process in which an entrepreneur has spent and analyzed the viability of the idea and the opportunity of a business during a long period of time. In the process and search, observation of the reality that surrounds us, and especially the needs and tastes of consumers, have served to inspire many entrepreneurs in the detection of opportunities and their subsequent business exploitation. So the fact is that only successful venture actually arose from stroke of luck, only a few successful venture. A coincidence or so on. The myth 3 is that you have to study several years at the university to be able to understand how a company works. Well, although higher education has great practical value in the area of business creation, many of the theoretical knowledge transmitted at the university context could be supplemented by work experience. In addition, although in recent years universities have shown a great concern to stimulate among their students the entrepreneurial spirit, the situation of uncertainty that characterize the development of any entrepreneurship makes it practically impossible to guarantee a completely knowledge through university studies. In business practice, we can find a large number of entrepreneurs who lack university education and who, however, have achieved success in the business world. So the fact is that although university education is very important, the university is not the only way of entrepreneurship, or to learn entrepreneurship. The myth 4 is that first you have to work for others, know a business, and then create your own company based on your knowledge in that area. Well, while it's true that a large proportion of entrepreneurs create their companies in the sector in which they had previously worked as employees, it is also the fact that using the right techniques can get to know a business sector even without having previously worked at. So the fact is that this is the way of many companies does not mean that it is the only way. The myth 5 about the ability to entrepreneur is that it is impossible to become an entrepreneur without the understanding and support of those around you. Well, on many occasions, and especially in the case of more innovative entrepreneurial projects, entrepreneurs have encountered the contrariety of the closest people, I mean family and friends, as well as the rejection of banks and administration. We cannot forget that innovation in the beginning may seem crazy ideas, and that such perception can come to dismantle the future entrepreneurs. In this context, there are many histories of great entrepreneurs who start alone in the business world, avoiding difficulties, circumstances, and overcoming all kinds of setbacks. So the fact is that while some personal networks of entrepreneurs facilitate the startup of the new company, they do not always contribute in favor of entrepreneurs. Now we are going to see myth about the entrepreneur person. The first myth is that the entrepreneur is born, not done. Well, at present it is demonstrated that any person can get to create and develop a company. It is undeniable that certain personal characteristics help the entrepreneur achieve success, but the vast majority of them can be learned and mastered through training and experience. So the fact is that an entrepreneur can have some innate intelligence, but to become an entrepreneur happens thanks to the accumulation of skills, experience, and contacts for a period of time that usually reach nearly 10 years. The myth 2, the entrepreneur is a daredevil. Well, the assumption of risk have been one of the functions traditionally attributed to the entrepreneur. This is not only support the business of carrying out the business project, but also create or generate rights, I mean own and others, covers and insert. But this does not mean that the entrepreneur do not measure the risk they assume. I mean, moreover, they only risk when they have verified that they have great possibilities of getting a benefit that compensate what they assume. So the fact is that successful entrepreneurs calculate very well the risk they assume. The myth 3 is that the entrepreneur is a solitary wolf and cannot work as a team. Well, if entrepreneurs want to start up a big project with growth possibilities, they need to have a team of collaborators. Successful entrepreneurs in general consider that it's better to own 51% of a large company than the 100% of a micro enterprise. So the fact is that successful entrepreneurs value great teams and effective relationship to work with other people. The myth 4 is that the entrepreneur is an egoist. The only thing they are looking for is their own profit. Well, one of the social functions that entrepreneurs fulfill is job creation. As we know, new businesses generate more employment than large ones. So they are also more innovative and more committed to social cause. Social entrepreneurs are an example of people who want to devote to society that part of the wealth that, thanks to society, they have been able to win. So the fact is that great entrepreneurs build an organization that is capable of employing many people and providing wealth to many more. The myth 5 is that the entrepreneur seeks control and power over others. Well, the need of achievement, not power, is the one that usually drives the performance of entrepreneurs. Desires for self-realization, working on their own project, intervening in their own destiny and making their dreams come true are usually based on any desire for control over others. However, when entrepreneurs succeed, they can become powerful and influential people, and hence power can come to characterize the exercise of the activity, not as a main motivation, but as a consequence. So the fact is that successful entrepreneurs, rather than power, are guided by the search of responsibilities, achievement, and results. And the myth 6 about the entrepreneur person is that the entrepreneur works longer and harder than the manager of any company, suffers great stress, and his health pays the consequence. Well, during the first years of a company's life, entrepreneurs have to work very hard. That is true. However, in practice, it has not been proven that they work more hours than any other professional with similar responsibilities. It is true that having a company assumes a constant responsibility that does not disappear as it concludes the usual working hours. The ideas of the entrepreneur are always in motion, and any time may be good to make decisions or solve a problem. In contrast, entrepreneurs are often satisfied with this way of working. So the fact is that there is no clear evidence of the fact that the time and stress generated by entrepreneurship is higher than which is supported by an employed person. Now we are talking about myths about the creation of companies. The first myth is that creating a company is much more risky than working with an employee. The employment for life we were used to a few years ago no longer respond to the current reality. We only have to observe how many people are fired from work, the precariousness that characterizes the current labor market, and the permanent anxiety that worker comes to see that the time of employment for life have ended. Today, it is normal for people to change jobs through their lives. It is true that the creation of a company or of a venture also does not fully guarantee that the entrepreneur will have work for a lifetime, but the compensation to take this risk maybe depends on who far greater than to risk being an employee. I mean, the fact is that work as an employee is no longer a safety option. The second myth is that a company is something very complex. Well, when we think of a company, it's easy for big organizations as, I don't know, IBM or Inditex to come to mind. Of course, they are companies, but so are the small business in the corner of our street or the neighborhood bakery. And creating a company does not mean creating a multinational. There are plenty of more or less complex alternatives, more or less simple and requiring more or less effort. The fact is that the infinite possibilities of companies that exist generate that the degree of difficulty when talking about creating a company varies enormously. The myth 3 is that creating a business is an expensive and usual ends in failure. Well, that a new company does not work does not mean that the entrepreneur is going to lose a fortune. First, it does not take much money to start. It all depends on the entrepreneur's ability to address expenses. For example, it is possible to rent a local rather than buy, establish variable wage instead of fixed wage, etc. On the other hand, a business failure does not mean a failure entrepreneur. In practice, third-time business ideas may fail, which does not imply that the entrepreneur cannot successfully develop another business venture. Moreover, a business failure is often the first step to success, since in every success history there are mistakes in the process that allow to learn from the wrong decision. So the fact is that business fail, not entrepreneurs. The myth 4 is that starting a business is even more difficult than creating it. Well, starting a new business project can be quite easy in the entrepreneurial process, regardless of the sector of type of company. There are many steps and elements that are repeated. On the project is launched, it is when the difficulties start to face the competition and maintain and retain customers. I mean, the fact is that the easiest part to start the business, the challenge is to survive, sustain, and grow a business. And that was the myth around the myth and fact around the entrepreneurial activities. Thank you, and see you on the next.